Welcome to the Genealogy Happy Hour, a place where new family historians can learn to document their family histories and celebrate their new discoveries. I'm Amy.
And I'm Penny, and we're here to help you discover your family tree from the beginning. Welcome to episode 118. In this episode, we are going to look at our research that we've been talking about last month, where we had some research questions, and we're using two different methods
to
get
there. Mm-hmm. Yep.
But before we jump into that and tell you what we found, do we have a wine, Amy?
No, we don't.
What?
I know, we don't. For the first time in what?
Do we have anything?
We do. No, actually, I have been recently drinking. I don't know, I missed Germany. I was missing Germany, and I was missing Doppelbock beer.
Oh.
And so I found some Doppelbock beer here in the United States. That it comes from Germany, of course. Imported.
Yes.
So I have been drinking Paulaner Salvatore Doppelbock beer. It's absolutely nectar of the gods.
Is it a dark beer?
It is a dark beer. Okay. It's a dark beer. It's got a little bit higher alcohol content. So usually the Doppelbocks are 7 to 8% alcohol, but it's absolutely delicious. So we're doing beer today.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. You've mentioned that to me before, that you started
drinking the beer.
Finding that, and I know I'm an IPA person. I like the bitter beer.
Right. Me too.
But I do like a Guinness. When we were in England, we were drinking.
Yeah, when we went
Guinness.
We had to get our Guinness. Yeah, but this is good.
Yeah.
This is good. Yeah. Yeah, quite frankly, I like it better than Guinness, but it's Munich. I mean,
yes.
All the beers are from Munich, so yeah. But
okay.
Anyway, so we will put that on our website. It's Paulaner Salvatore Doppelbock.
Okay, excellent. Branching off into all different stuff here. Okay, so let's get into our research.
Okay.
We each had a question. You were going to do a traditional plan. I was being lazy, and I threw it at AI, and I said, this is what I want to know. Write me up a plan. I didn't make it that lazy, but I did use, as mentioned before, I put in my lazy prompt into cowboy prompt. And it gave me a great prompt to then put into AI. And I'm using the one that Claude AI gave me.
And so remind us, what was your research question?
So I think I mentioned just one question, but I really have two questions. My two questions are verifying the birth date for Martha Ann Elizabeth Jane Wells, otherwise known as, in most documents, Martha A.E.J. Wells.
Okay.
And her father, Jeremiah Wells, is my big concentration. Who were his parents, and maybe something more about his life and whatnot.
So what time period were we looking at to think about when she would have been born?
This is early 1800s.
Okay, so this is a little challenging.
Very challenging, right? So so I started with that, and Claude gave me to search for baptismal records. No, that wasn't working.
Well, and you have to remember, baptismal records too are only good if they belong to a church that actually baptized infants.
Correct.
So if they're Baptist, you're not going to find those.
You have to have those records online if you're doing the research from home.
Right.
So these are some of the things, the issues.
Do you even know what
no idea
faith denomination they were?
I knew exactly what you were going to ask for. And no,
and that was a no. Okay.
Hard pass. Again, and of course they mentioned Bible records, if there were any Bibles. And I did look for Bibles, and I looked for them in the DAR site. I looked for them at the Library of Virginia. Several places I looked besides the usual go-tos, and I didn't see anything there.
And this is also like West Virginia prior to being West Virginia.
Correct.
So okay.
Correct. Birth registrations, which that weren't going to happen that early for that time period. Then it suggested looking at marriage records, death records, census, age progression. I do have a marriage record, which is also going to be coming up there. I do have a marriage record, but it literally just lists her name, her husband's name and the marriage date.
So annoying.
And that's it. So that was not helpful. There was no death record for her. I looked under a variety of names. I went to the West Virginia Culture, all that.
It's a great website. That's a great site, yeah.
So I was stuck with the census. And what I find in the census is in 1850 suggests a birth year of 1809. 1860 and 70, 1808, and 1880, 1807.
Okay,
So we're going to go with 1808.
Correct.
Seems to be the,
yep.
I think the 1807, but the month that they had taken the census and her birth date, I think were just super close. So I think that's what we're going to go with there. So
okay.
I don't think I can find anything else. I mean, if something does come up, like a Bible is, surfaces or...
I'm really thinking that to find an exact birth date for somebody, a woman at that time period, without a family Bible, it's probably where,
I was just hoping for a better year because, and I really wanted to know the year, because her parents are married in 1810. I have a marriage record for them. She's born well before that marriage.
Yeah, so that would be problematic, especially if you want to try and prove that woman in that marriage is her mother. I don't know that you could say that.
Yes.
Because you could say he was married before.
Yes. So that's another
question.
That's
another research question.
Road,
yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then I went on to Jeremiah's birth and parentage, and I have the name Benjamin Wells as his father. It seems to be the most common that's, showing up in, when you look at
the
people's
plethora of trees online.
The plethora of trees. And so, let's look at this guy. There is no... Let me find my page here. Okay, there's nothing that states Jeremiah is the son of Benjamin Wells that I could find as of yet. I did find they are both in Kanawha County around the 1810 mark. Jeremiah shows up in the 1802 tax list. They're both in the 1812 tax list. In the 1810 census, Benjamin is listed with two adult men, two adult women, which could have been their wives if they all lived together. Jeremiah is not listed in the 1810 census in Kanawha County, but he is in the 1820 and 1830.
Okay.
So he's there. Now, there is a biography of Benjamin Wells in the Brown County, Ohio sketch of his life, where he is listed as being born in Wales, coming to Maryland with his father Charles. He's in the Revolutionary War in the Navy. And then he moves, his wife, and his first wife is Mary Rice. She dies either in Maryland or in Virginia. Because after the war, he moves to Kanawha County. And there he marries another Mary in 1805. I don't know when he shows up. It just says after the war he shows up in Kanawha County. Maybe Jeremiah was there first because he's in the 1802 tax list.
Did they get Revolutionary War land?
I don't know.
Okay.
But there's a huge pension file that has a lot of stuff in it.
So yeah, you need to
But he doesn't file for a pension until he leaves Kanawha County and goes to Brown County. He doesn't stay in Kanawha County very long. And he then goes to Brown County, and he and his wife Mary have a plethora of children. Those are the only ones mentioned in any document. No children from the first marriage are mentioned. Except for that weird random thing I saw where it says Jeremiah is the only son or only child from the first marriage. Where is that mentioned?
Right.
Like, I don't know
you have no documentation for that.
Right. I don't know where who printed that and why. So then I have to look at, what's I've got the census. I've got the tax list. I don't have Mary Rice and Benjamin. I don't have a marriage record for them. Just the second wife. I have no children attributed to her in the sketch. No Rice family appearing in Kent, Maryland, if that's where they were.
Okay.
However, there is a ship log with Mary Rice, several Mary Rices coming over. So I don't know how much credibility that gives to anything. And then I've got in the pension files, he states he is born in Kent, Maryland. Mm-hmm. But in the biographical sketch, which is, the book is published in 1873, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
It says he's from Wales and he came over with his father, Charles. Mm-hmm. Okay, there's another question.
Right.
Did he come over from Wales or was he born in Maryland?
So you definitely have some conflicting evidence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
I wouldn't say evidence, information.
Yeah, information.
Yeah.
So I have no direct evidence that Jeremiah is Benjamin's son, although everybody thinks he is, and it does look like a good candidate. There's no other Wells. There's not like a plethora of Wells families in Kanawha County at that time. It's just them. No probate names him. No deeds I could find. No church connection. But they do appear in the same county. They're appropriate ages. I think I'm going down the right track. It's just I'd like to find something that has a more solid connection. So, but I've got some other questions. And so did I answer my question? No.
So no, you did. I guess the answer is no.
The answer is absolutely not. But I liked having this just for this part. I know, and I've got 7 more pages from Claude of things to research. But just doing this first section, I thought was pretty good.
That's interesting though, but because you put in, now when you put this stuff into Claude, you told it the time period, the location, and the time period that you're looking for, and it's giving you things that sometimes may not have been available during that time period.
Yeah, it does.
So you still have to do some legwork.
Yes, it did say check for any birth registrations, but then in parentheses, rare for this period, but worth investigating.
Okay, all right. So it kind of gave you a hint that you may not find something, but you definitely need to know where you're looking and what's available.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, I ran into that as well. So my first question was, who are the parents of George B. Simmons, who was born about 1850 in Alabama, and he died in September of 1911 in Coffee County, Alabama. And I think I mentioned briefly last time that I do have his death certificate. And of course it says parents don't know, quote, unquote. And it says that he was born in Pike County, Alabama, died in Coffee County, Alabama. He was married at the time. He'd been living in Coffee County for about 8 years. So he moved there around 1900, 1902. And that he was buried at the Bethany Church. And I had reached out to the Bethany Church to find out if they had burial records. They might have some genealogical information. And all I got was a photograph of the tomb, the grave marker. So no burial information.
Okay.
So that was my starting point. My research plan is to check the census records, look for marriage records, probate, deeds, sibling records, military service, but he was, if he was born about 1850, probably not likely that he served in the Civil War, so probably not there. And then county history. So of those, I did complete the census records, and what I did was I took the census records and I did a timeline, and starting with the census that I knew that he would most likely have to be in if he was born around 1850, and that was the 1860 census. Now I do have him as an adult, obviously in the 1900 census. He's married, and that 1900 census says he was born in February of 1850. And he goes by George B. Simmons, so he's always George B, with just the middle initial. So I did find a George B. What I did was I went to Pike County, Alabama, and started looking for all of the Simmons, or the George B. Simmons, in Pike County. And I found Let me see, where is my list? I found several George Simmons that would have been born around that time period. And I found a George B. Simmons who would have been born around 1855 in the Eastern Division in Pike County, whose parents were born in North Carolina and South Carolina. There was a couple of others. There's a George C. Simmons, a George W. Simmons, and a George J. Simmons. They were all born in the 1850s, living in Pike County. So, but I have one George B. Simmons. That's highly likely to be my guy. And he's living with presumed parents Bethel and Mary Simmons. Now, and I should say that I do know that George B. Simmons, as an adult, had a son called George Bethel Simmons. So here you've got a potential father and mother with potential father as Bethel. So I think that that's pretty much my guy, born in 1860, living in a household with two adults, Bethel and Mary. I go back to the 1850 census looking for a child of about a year or less, and I do not find, I don't find him. Now that census in 1850 in Pike County, it was taken in December of 1850, although the enumeration date was supposed to be June 1st. So anybody living in the household prior to June 1st would have been enumerated, but they didn't get around to doing this area in Pike County until the end of the year. But he's not there. However, I do find Bethel Simmons' household, and there's no George in that. So it's likely that George was born, if he was born in 1850, he obviously wasn't born in February, and he was born after that June month. And again, there's the female in the household is Mary, the same, we can only assume the same Mary that was enumerated in 1860. Now, interesting, Alabama did have a couple of state censuses during this time period. They had an 1850 census, and I put their names in, and they don't come up. And I was like, okay. I take that back. Alabama did have an 1850 census, and I did find Bethel in that, but it just has children under 21 marked. So, and there's one male under 21 in that household. Alabama took another census in 1855. That was the one that I was like, okay, he's going to be in that. Well, guess what? I don't find them at all in that 1855 census. Okay. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. So I went to Wiki, Family Search Wiki, and I looked at the Alabama, and I actually went to Pike County in Wiki, and it says, oh, well, here's the census records that you should look, 1855, Mm-hmm. But when I went to that 1855 and I clicked on how to use this collection in Family Search, and it tells you which counties are included, and Pike County was not enumerated in that census. So I'm looking for a document that doesn't exist. I'm looking for records that don't even exist. So their county was not even enumerated, unfortunately. So there's no data for 1855 Alabama state census. 1866, they did have a census, and again, it's just the tick marks. And Bethel is listed there. And there are only 3 males in the household, 2 males between the ages of 10 and 20, and then 1 over the age of 21. So he's likely one of those 2 males over, between 10 and 20, which would make sense. That would be around his age. So the other interesting thing that I should say is that I did make note of in the 1850 Alabama census is that there was an Isaac Simmons enumerated directly below Bethel. So I just want to make a note of that and maybe have to circle back to that eventually. Mm-hmm. But that Isaac was not enumerated next to Bethel in the 1866 Alabama census. So then I go on to the 1870s U.S. Census, and I do find George B. Simmons in that household with Bethel and again Mary. He would have been born around 1852, given the age there, and he's enumerated under the name Jesse, Jessey B. Simmons. And again, it says parents were born in South Carolina. There's no females of his age enumerated in that household, so he must have gotten married to his wife Ellen after June 1870. I don't think I found their marriage yet. I have to go back and see. So I'm pretty sure, and again, like you said, there's a bunch of trees online for this family that say that Bethel and Mary are his parents. He has a son, second son is named Bethel,
right.
Middle name Bethel. So I'm pretty sure that I have his parents as Bethel and Bethel Simmons and Mary unknown so far. I did also was able to look in the Coffee County Alabama probate records. Those are on Family Search. There was no George B. Simmons. I did look for Bethel. I looked for his George's wife Ellen, and I just looked under the name Simmons, and there was nothing found for that time period. Again, then I went to look in Pike County. There was a courthouse fire in 1828, so all the records for the court start in 1830, and the only one I found was who I know to be Bethel's second wife, Fanny. She had a probated will, but there's no other Simmons in Pike County as far as probate goes for that. But I did have to really stop myself from going down into the rabbit hole and start working on my second resource question before I finish this one. And I did find something interesting.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you throw Bethel's name into the full
Yes.
the full text search?
Yes, I did it all different sorts of ways. Yeah, I did. Yeah, Bethel doesn't come up at all, and which is it's kind of an unusual name. And no, and in fact, there aren't a lot of Simmons. There's a couple Simmons families. There's one that's more prominent, which I would get to because I did start looking at the county histories for Pike County and Coffee County. Everyone seems to be referring back to a Thomas McAdory Owens book called History of Alabama and Dictionary of Alabama Biography. I have not taken a look at that yet, but everybody uses that in their bibliography reference point. Yeah, but I did find a History of Pike County, Alabama by Margaret Pace Farmer. That was written in 1952, so 100 years after these people were living there. It was published by the University of Georgia. I got it through the HathiTrust.org. Has no index to it. I did find a reference to an Isaac Simmons on page 20 who said he set up a house and started a bar room in the 1840s. That's the only mention of my Simmons in that book. Coffee County, Alabama. I did find the History of Coffee County, Alabama for 1840 to 1871 by Dewey Maurice Johnson. It was his master's thesis from the University of Alabama in 1947. And again, it was no index on that. And there's just a reference to J.B. Simmons or John B. Simmons, which seems to be the more prestigious Simmons family in that area. So nothing so far on my Simmons family in those books. And so I doubt if they're in the county books, I doubt they're going to be in that History of Alabama as well. But definitely worth taking a look at. I did see a lot of information about where the migration into that particular area of Alabama and that county was from the Carolinas, which makes sense because, these people. So what I did was I did a timeline and I did all of I took all the census and the death record and the grave marker and put that into a timeline so I could see and compare and contrast everything. And, his name is consistently George B. Simmons, except for that one that says Jesse, and that's just kind of maybe a nickname. And again, his birth is probably February 1851. They just got it off by a year, something like that. And that consistently he's living with Bethel and Mary. And I do show that, I do know that Bethel did marry again to a woman named Frances. I don't know if I have that marriage record yet. I needed to get that. Did not find a marriage for Bethel and Mary, which is super annoying. I have to keep looking for that because going down the rabbit hole real quick, I did find that Mary is mentioned in her father's probate.
Oh.
But it doesn't say Mary, it says Margaret.
Ooh.
I know. And she had a sister named Margaret. But that's for next month. I'll bring all that information to you next month because it's a little tangled. I'm going to leave you hanging. So I do believe that I did answer my question. I do have.
What was the question again?
Who are the parents
Okay, that's right.
of George B. Simmons? Now, I'm pretty sure I've got Bethel. And what I do need to do that I have not done to confirm it, because I don't have any documentation that would show that I don't have any discrepancies. I don't have any conflicting evidence so far. But I do want to then, based on the census records, run down all of the other children in the household. So in other words, George's brothers and sisters, to see if they left any death certificates that might have names on them of their parents, see if they had left any records. The other thing I have not looked at yet are deed records. For those counties, I haven't even looked to see if they're online yet or not. So that's another thing that I have not done that I do need to do. So looking at the sibling records, looking at the deed records, I've already checked probates, marriages, and census. So all of those are complete. And then the partial county histories, I've looked at those. Those don't seem to be going anywhere for me either. But I've tentatively confirmed, I think, that Bethel is definitely the dad and Mary's most likely the mother. Yeah. She was in there. She was in the census before and in the census after. So, but yeah, and then I'll give you some more information on Mary next month.
Next time, okay.
Yeah. So, until next time.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening. Please email us with any questions or comments at genealogyhappyhour@gmail.com.
Visit our website, www.genealogyhappyhour.com, for additional resources, books, and wines. Don't forget to drink responsibly
and never drink around genealogical documents.